All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. Of course, this is the show where we cover the SWAC inside and out. And I am your tour guide around the SWAC. Wells coming at you, man. And we're going to get ready to talk about week 6. Man, a lot of craziness took place this week, a lot of good games. Um, some space starting to be made in the standings just a little bit. But other than that, man, it was just your typical SWAC weekend. You just never know what you're gonna get out of it. And we got some games that were hey that really lived up to that SWAC billing. So let's go ahead and go ahead and get into it, man. If y'all follow the show, the socials are on the screen down below. You can hit the Facebook, which is SWAC Talk, Instagram, SWAC Talk, Twitter, SWAC Talk 76. If you'd like to show a little love to the show, you can hit the Cash App. It's on the screen. Whatever, that way. On the screen, $ Swag Talk. Like the channel, hit the notification bell because I'm gonna start doing some videos, breaking down the standings and statistics and stuff. Probably after this week, after week 7. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. We're on the march to 1K. We're almost up to 750. So let's hit that mark, and then, man, we can keep on going. So, hey, man, like I said, I'd like to thank y'all for subscribing already. If you haven't done so already, then hit that subscription button and join the party. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, man. We're not going to waste no time. I'm sorry if y'all hear my dog, Thanos, back there barking, man. He just going crazy. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but he's going crazy right now. So let's start off with the first game that we want to talk about today, and that is Florida A&M picking up a victory over South Carolina State by a score of 20-14. FAMU actually controlled this game through 3 quarters by a score of 20-0, and South Carolina State scored two touchdowns in the 4th quarter to make the score what it would end up being. So FAMU got the scoring started first when Xavier Smith caught a 63-yard pass from Musa to make the score 7-0. Extra point was good, obviously. 2nd quarter, 12 minutes, 35 seconds. Shareed caught a touchdown from Musa from 35 yards out. Extra point good. That made the score 14-0. With 2.5 minutes left in the first half, Romo Martinez made a 43-yard field goal, capping a 10-play, 54-yard drive that took 3:33 off the clock. That made the halftime score 17-0. Early in the 3rd quarter, Romo Martinez another field goal, this time for 38 yards out, making the score 20-0. And that capped off a 4-play, 7-yard drive. So they had a short field to work with. Kick field goal. 4th quarter, Shaq Davis got the Bulldogs on the board with a 14-yard pass from Corey Fields. Extra point was good. 7 plays, 36-yard drive. That's made the score 20-7. And then Shaq Davis caught a 44-yard pass from Fields to make the score 20-14 after the extra point, which would ultimately end up being the final margin. FAMU, like I said, they had a good early portion of this game, but they just, late in the game, they really couldn't get much going. After that, South Carolina State, after they scored 2 touchdowns off of turnovers, then they threw an interception and turned the ball over on downs to end their opportunities at getting back into this game and winning it. FAMU, their 4th quarter was really not good. They had a they punted. They had an interception on their first 4th quarter drive, an interception on their second 4th quarter drive, and 2 punts, and then turnover, and then down. They ran the game out at the end. So not a productive 4th quarter, but they were able to withstand South Carolina State and pick up the victory. 15 first downs for the Rattlers, 16 for the Bulldogs. FAMU ran the ball for 54 yards on 30 carries, 1.8 yards per carry. The running game is still not clicking. South Carolina State ran for 19 yards on 21 carries, so nobody could run the ball in this game. 0.9 yards per carry. Both defenses were very, very stout against the run. Passing, South Carolina State 237 yards, 17 of 50, 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. that's, neither one of these teams really did much offensively, honestly. FAMU was 17 of 38, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 266 yards, 320 yards of total offense for the Rattlers on 68 plays, 4.7 yards per play. They fumbled once, but they didn't lose it. They had 15 penalties for 151 yards. That's gonna hurt you so much, so many more times. They were really fortunate to make it out of this game with a victory. South Carolina State 256 yards on 71 plays, 3.6 yards per play. No fumbles at all. They had 6 penalties for 65 yards. The Rattlers averaged 39.6 yards per punt, 39.9 for the Bulldogs. Time of possession, 33 minutes and 22 seconds for the Rattlers, 26-38 for the Bulldogs. FAMU were 3 of 14 on third down, and they didn't attempt a fourth down conversion. South Carolina State was 3 of 17 on third down, and they were 1 of 2 on fourth down. FAMU did not get in the red zone in this game, as they scored 2 long touchdowns and 2 pretty long field goals. South Carolina State was 1 for 1 in the red zone. FAMU 2 sacks. Bulldogs 1. Both teams made both the extra points, and FAMU was 2 of 2 on field goals. Individually, Jeremy Musa 17 of 38, 266, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was sacked once. Corey Fields 17 of 48, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He was sacked twice. Jalen McLeod led FAMU with 9 carries for 41 yards. Terrell Jennings, 5 carries for 17 yards. A.J. Davis, 7 carries, 11 yards. Kendrell Flowers led South Carolina State with 12 carries for 31 yards. He was the only guy on the team with double-digit rushing yards. Xavier Smith, 5 catches, 102 yards, and 1 touchdown. He continues to be on a tear. He's been doing really, really well these last few weeks. Like I said, he had a touchdown as well. Sharif, 4 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Kamari Young, 3 catches, 52 yards. David Manigo, 2 catches, 28 yards. A.J. Davis, 1 catch, 17 yards. Darian Oxendine, 1 catch, 6 yards. And Jeremiah Pruitt, 1 catch, 5 yards. Shaq Davis, 5 catches, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the Bulldogs. Raheem White, 2 catches, 44 yards. Smith Brown, 1 catch for 42 yards. Richard Bailey, 3 catches, 36 yards. Flowers, 3 catches, 29 yards. Massey, 1 catch, 7 yards. And James, 2 catches for -2 yards. Isaiah Major, 13 tackles. He's been on a tear. He's been all over the field, making tackles all over the field. He continues to do that. Williams, 7 tackles. Bowler with 5. Major, 2.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. Stevens, 2 tackles for loss. Smith, 2 tackles for loss. Martinez, 1. Hunt, 1. Land, 1. Morgan, a half a tackle for loss. And sacks were by Major and Stevens. They each had 1. Interceptions went to Morgan, Bowler, Kendall Bowler, and BJ Bowler. So the Bowler boys both had interceptions in this game. South Carolina State was led by Aaron Smith with 8 tackles. Jablonski Green and Godbolt with 7 tackles apiece. BJ Davis with 5 tackles for loss. Godbolt 2, Kirksey 1.5, Barber 1, Doe 1, Keith also with 1, and Nichols a half a tackle for loss. Sack was by Barber. Interceptions, BJ Davis had 2 interceptions on the night, so he definitely was a bright spot for South Carolina State. Like I said, this game was more of a defensive game than anything. FAMU built a nice lead and was able to withstand South Carolina State making a push at the end. So FAMU, I've said it week in and week out, they've been winning with this passing attack. The running game is not really, clicking at all right now. They face Grambling this upcoming week on the road, so we'll see if they can get some things going in that game. Speaking of Grambling, let's go ahead and talk about Grambling and Alabama A&M. Grambling dropped a 37-31 game, double overtime matchup to Alabama A&M. This was a game that it really was. It went a couple different ways. A&M got started scoring first when Grambling scored first with Urban kicking a 31-yard field goal. Eaglin, 26-yard run for the Bulldogs, extra point good. They led 7-3 at that point. Right before the half, with 21 seconds left, Lyndon Rash caught a 6-yard pass from Quaterius Hawkins, made the score 10-7 after the extra point. Then that would be your halftime score. A&M got a 16-yard pass from Quincy Casey to Isaiah Cox. Extra point good, 14-10. Barbosa, 29-yard field goal for the Bulldogs, 17-10. Chance Amy came in for Grambling and scored on a 2-yard run to tie the game up at 17 after the extra point. Jemison got a 2-yard run for the Bulldogs to get them the lead back after the extra point, 24-17. Maurice Washington would get a 6-yard touchdown run for Grambling to tie the score up at 24. And then Noah Bean would score the first points in overtime for Grambling on a 26-yard pass from Calvez. Extra point good. That made it score 31-24. And then Hambrick would catch a 7-yard pass from Quincy Casey. And extra point would be good to tie the game up at 31 to send it into a second overtime. And then Eaglin would win the game for the Bulldogs by scoring. They would score the go-ahead touchdown in their portion of the overtime for 2 yards out. The 2-point conversion was no good. Grambling would get the ball in their second overtime chance, and they would basically not do anything. They would throw 4 incompletions, 3 incompletions and a sack on 4th down to give the Bulldogs the win. So Grambling could not move the ball at all in the second overtime, and A&M would win this game 37-31. Statistically, Grambling 18 first downs, Alabama A&M 20 first downs. Grambling 108 yards on the ground, 36 carries, 3 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. Alabama A&M 184 yards on the ground, 40 carries, 4.6 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. Grambling 170 yards passing, 14 of 30, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. A&M 230 yards, 21 of 32, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. 278 yards of total offense for Grambling on 66 plays, 4.2 yards per play. They fumbled twice and lost 1, so they turned the ball over twice in this game. 414 yards for the Bulldogs, 72 plays, 5.8 yards per play. They had 1 fumble and they lost it. They had 14 penalties for 142 yards. Grambling 11 penalties for 65 yards. Grambling averaged 48.8 yards per punt, so really a good night as far as flipping field position for them in this game. A&M 37.5 yards per punt. Time of possession, Grambling 29-43, A&M 45-17. 6 of 14 for Grambling on 3rd downs, which is definitely a step in the right direction. 1 of 2 on 4th downs. They were 4 of 4 in the red zone, and they had 1 sack. They made all 4 of the extra points, and they were 1 for 1 on field goals. Alabama A&M 5 of 13 on 3rd down, 2 of 2 on 4th downs. They were 5 of 5 in the red zone, and they had 4 sacks. They were 4 of 4 on extra point kicks, and 1 of 2 on field goals. Individually, Tigers played 3 quarterbacks in this game. So Calvez was 8 of 17 for 74 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times. Hawkins 4 of 9 for 73 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, no sacks. And Chance Amy 2 of 4 for 23 yards, no touchdowns, no interception. He was sacked once. The Bulldogs, Quincy Casey 17 of 25, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. Isaiah Cox 1 for 1 for 27 yards. Xavier Langford 3 of 6 for 15 yards. No touchdown, no interceptions. He was sacked once. Maurice Washington led Grambling with 9 carries for 31 yards and a touchdown. Amy 9 carries, 38 yards and a touchdown. Floyd Chalk 3 carries, 14 yards. Williams 3 carries, 13 yards. Hawkins 2 carries, 12 yards. Eaglin led the Bulldogs with 21 carries for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns. Young 1 carry, 28 yards. Jemison 9 carries, 27 yards and a touchdown. Rash led Grambling with 4 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. Faison Wilson 3 catches, 28 yards. Noah Bean 1 catch, 26 yards and a touchdown. Washington 4 catches, 18 yards. Coleman 2 catches, 12 yards. Cox led the Bulldogs with 4 catches for 46 yards and a touchdown. Clark, 2 catches, 44 yards. Gardner, 2 catches, 37 yards. Hambrick, 4 catches, 27 yards. Casey, 1 catch for 27 yards. Johnson, 2 for 25. Young, 4 for 20. Jemison, 1 for 4. Grambling was led by Sundiata Anderson with 11 tackles. Reed with 8. Dagry with 8. Moncrief with 7. Thomas with 6 tackles for loss. Moncrief 1. Reed a half a tackle for loss. Green a half a tackle for loss. And Moncrief had the sack. Forced fumble was by Moncrief as well, and he recovered the fumble. And no interceptions for Grambling. Alabama A&M McNeil led the team with 9 tackles. Douglas with 7. Rice with 7. Hayes with 5. Terry with 5 tackles for loss. Hayes and Terry each had 2 tackles for loss apiece. 1.5 for McNeil. Guilford 1. Smith 1. Rice 1. Connor and Bell and Thomas Douglas each had a half a tackle for loss apiece. Sacks went to Guilford, Terry, and McNeil with 1 apiece. Connor and Bell each had a half a sack. Forced fumble was by Smith, recovered by Guilford. Interception was by Rice. So, like I said, this was a pretty entertaining game. I had a chance to watch a little bit of it in spurts. Grambling played, they played a lot better. They hung in there in this game, but they still haven't been able to get over the hump. Alabama A&M is on a 2-game winning streak now, so they've been able to win these last 2 games at home. Both teams still kind of trying to figure some things out. Grambling still, having the issue with who's that guy going to be at quarterback. The running game is not consistently there, but the defense is keeping them in the games. But this offense was able to score points this week, so that definitely helped them a lot to stay in this game. But Alabama A&M was able to pull out the victory. So Bulldogs have a bye week this upcoming week, and Grambling plays FAMU. So Alabama A&M gets to go back and look and try to fix some things. Grambling has to hit it again real quick because they have a tough task coming next week. The next game we want to talk about is Texas Southern defeating UAPB by a score of 24-17. This game was a pretty close affair. Texas Southern led 10-3 at the half. UAPB would basically play TSU to a 14-14 second half. That was not enough to get over the hump. The score was tied at 17 late in the game before Texas Southern scored the winning points. TSU got a 42-yard Rick Garcia field goal to make the score 3-0. That was the first points of the game. Chris Thompson, 27-yard field goal for the Golden Lions to make the score 3-3. That came with 14-14 left in the second quarter. Andrew Body would get TSU on the board with a touchdown from 7 yards out with 4:37 left in the first half, and that would make the score 10-3. They capped off a 90-play drive that only took 2 plays. So, that was a big drive for TSU, a big play in there, and a nice touchdown for them on that possession. And those are the kind of things that you really want from your offense to be able to to strike and get yourself on the board. It's you really want these kind of opportunities. You got to take advantage of them when you get them. They've struggled with consistency this season so far, and this game was kind of indicative of that. Kayvon Britton got a 25-yard touchdown for UAPB to make the score 10-10 after the extra point that came in the third quarter. 5:38 in the third quarter. Ja'Cory Howard 8-yard pass from Body, extra point good, 17-10. With 7 minutes and 22 seconds left in the game, Britton would get his second touchdown of the game for Pine Bluff, this time from 5 yards out. Extra point good, 17-17. And then with 3:31 left in the game, Ja'Cory Howard was scoring a 1-yard touchdown run to make the score 24-17, which would be the final margin. TSU would have 17 first downs on the night, 15 for Pine Bluff. TSU ran the ball for 79 yards on 41 carries, 1.9 yard per carry, 2 touchdowns. Pine Bluff 136 yards on the ground on 34 carries, 4 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. Texas Southern 211 through the air, 21 of 33, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Pine Bluff 76 yards through the air, 13 of 30, no touchdowns, 1 interception. 290 total offense for TSU on 74 plays, 3.9 yards per play. They fumbled twice and lost them both. They had 10 penalties for 105 yards. Pine Bluff 212 yards on the night, 64 plays, 3.3 yards per play. They had 1 fumble and lost it. They had 4 penalties for 43 yards. So defensively, Pine Bluff played a lot better than last week. The offense, running game was better. The passing game was not there. TSU was the reverse. Running game really wasn't there. Passing game was enough to get it done for you. 39.8 yards per punt for the Tigers, 43.9 for the Golden Lions. 34-minute, 28-second time of possession for Texas Southern. 7 of 18 on third downs, 1 of 2 on fourth downs. They were 2 of 5 in the red zone. That that really hurts when you're not able to capitalize in the red zone. You could have actually probably won this game by more. Pine Bluff was 2 of 3 in the red zone. No sacks for Texas Southern. 1 sack for Pine Bluff. 3 of 3 PATs for TSU. 2 of 2 for Pine Bluff. Texas Southern 1 or 2 on field goals, and 1 for 1 on field goals for UAPB. So turnovers, bad red zone possessions, and missed field goal really kind of kept this game from probably being a little bit worse than what it ended up. Andrew Body 21 of 33, 211 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 1 sack. Skylar Perry 13 of 29 for 76 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. Ja'Cory Howard led TSU with 15 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown. Andrew Body, 12 of 55 and 1 touchdown. Britton, 19 carries, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns for the Golden Lions. Perry, 13 carries, 42 yards. Morton led TSU with 7 catches for 95 yards. Owens, 2 catches, 41 yards. Leary, 2 catches, 19 yards. Howard, 3 catches, 15 yards, and a touchdown. Shane, 1 catch, 13 yards. Masters, 1 catch, 12 yards. Bennett, 4 for 10, and Lewis, 1 for 6. Lloyd led UAPB with 2 catches for 27 yards. Williams, 2 for 26. Dawkins, 1 for 6. Cochran, 1 for 9. Prince, 4 for 1. So not a great passing day for UAPB. Pippins led Texas Southern with 8 tackles. Jacob Williams with 7. Javius Williams with 6. Cooper with 6. Tackles for loss. Fuller, Williams, Pippins, Trent, and Muhammad each had 1 tackle for loss apiece. No sacks. And the interception was by Charles George. Pine Bluff was led by Knox with 16 tackles and Woods with 11. So both of those guys had big nights making tackles. Askew with 9. Dozier with 6. Tackles for loss. Askew with 2. Dozier with 2. Smith 1.5. Hudson 1. Williams 1. Gray a half a tackle for loss. And the sack was by Askew. Interception was by Knox. Forced fumble was by Dozier. Fumble recovery was by Smith. So, like I said, this game was probably a little bit closer than it probably should have been. TSU made some mistakes in this game, but Pine Bluff, they rebounded a little bit from last week's effort. I thought they at least seemed to be a bit more competitive in this game, but they still have some problems to work out. The offense is still not really getting where you would expect them to be at this point in the season. So, they have some work to do. They are also off this week, as well as Texas Southern. So both these teams are off this upcoming week, so they both have a chance to, kind of get back in. Well, TSU has a game on Sunday, and Alabama A&M has a game on Sunday. I forgot about the St. Louis game. So both those teams have a game on Sunday, October 16th in St. Louis. So they both have an extra day of rest to get ready for that SWAC matchup. Next game we want to talk about is Bethune-Cookman taking on Tennessee State. TSU won this game by a score of 41-17. This was a game I actually thought Bethune-Cookman would win. TSU came in, they were reeling a bit. They were 0-4, and they were coming off of a loss to Lane. Bethune-Cookman lost last week to Alabama A&M, but they has kind of seemed to be turning the corner. But Tennessee State really jumped on them in the second quarter. This game was actually 7-3 after the first quarter. And Tennessee State would score 24 unanswered points in the second quarter to basically put this game away and make the halftime score 31-3. So Bethune-Cookman actually scored first on a 22-yard field goal that made the score 3-0. Then Texas Southern would get a 22-yard touchdown run, extra point good, 7-3. Then it would get a 5-yard touchdown pass from Ellis to Roberts to make the score 14-3. Then they would get a scoop and score from 32 yards out, giving TSU a 21-3 lead after the extra point. Mosley would kick a 45-yard field goal for Texas Southern to make the score 24-3. And then with 2:08 left in the first half, TSU would get another defensive touchdown. This time from a short defensive touchdown. 31-3 was the halftime score. Quayshawn Bird would get the Wildcats on the board in the second half with a 1-yard touchdown run, make after extra point 31-10. Mosley would kick a 31-yard field goal for the Tigers to make the score 34-10. Jalen Jones would run a 67-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter for Bethune-Cookman, 34-17. And then Ellis would get a 27-yard touchdown run to make the score 41-17. So a huge second quarter for TSU and a horrible turnover filled second quarter for Bethune-Cookman really changed this game. A better second quarter, you probably have a more competitive game. Although Bethune-Cookman had 19 first downs on the night, 18 for Tennessee State, 185 on the ground for the Wildcats on 36 carries, 5.1 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. 169 yards on the ground for Tennessee State, 39 carries, 4.3 yards per carry, also 2 touchdowns. Passing 196 yards for Bethune-Cookman, 23 of 40, no touchdowns, 1 interception. 138 yards through the air for Tennessee State, 10 of 19, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Bethune-Cookman outgained TSU 381-307. 76 plays for the Wildcats, 58 for the Tigers. 5.3 yards per play for TSU, 5 yards per play for Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman fumbled the ball 4 times and they lost 3, so they turned the ball over 4 times on the night. That definitely is going to hurt you. 2 of those 4 turnovers led directly to points. Tennessee State fumbled the ball twice and lost both, so they had 3 turnovers. 8 penalties for 94 yards for Bethune-Cookman. That's also a killer. And 7 for 44 for the Tigers. Bethune-Cookman punted once for 31 yards. Tennessee State punted twice for a 34-yard average. Time of possession, 31-48 for Bethune-Cookman, 28-12 for the Tigers. 6 of 17 for Bethune-Cookman on third down. 6 of 10 for TSU on third down. 1 of 6 on fourth down conversion. Bethune-Cookman went for it 6 times on fourth down. That's a pretty high number. That can definitely hurt you. Tennessee State, no fourth down attempts. Bethune-Cookman 2 of 6 in the red zone. That's also a killer. Tennessee State 3 of 3. Wildcats 1 sack. Tigers 4. 2 of 2 on PATs for Bethune-Cookman. 5 of 5 for Tennessee State. Bethune-Cookman also missed a field goal. They were 1 for 2. And Tennessee State was 2 for 2. So a lot of mistakes for Bethune-Cookman that really turned this game against them. That's really a tough way to really perform on the road. And this game was almost like a step back for them. Kind of more similar to they were playing earlier in the season. Jalen Jones, 19 of 34, 146 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. Tyrone Franklin, 4 of 6 for 50 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked twice. Ellis, 10 of 18 for Tennessee State for 138 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 1 sack. Rose, 0 for 1, no touchdowns, no interception, no sacks. Jones led Bethune-Cookman with 9 carries for 116 yards and a touchdown at that 67-yarder, average 12.9 yards per carry. Bird, 16 for 58. Rouse led Tennessee State with 19 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown. Starling, 10 carries, 43 yards. Ellis, 4 carries, 29 yards and a touchdown. Alvarette, 4 catches for 37 yards for Bethune-Cookman. Riley, 5 for 37. Dobie, 1 for 28. Ellington, 2 for 24. Maxwell 2 for 20, Reed 1 for 13, Eford 1 for 11, Lee 2 for 10, Powell 2 for 8, Jones 1 for 6, Bird 1 for 5. Tennessee State was led by Benson with 3 for 64, Weiss 2 for 20, Johnson 1 for 17, Davis 1 for 12, Rouse 1 for 12, Boone 1 for 8, Roberts 1 for 5 and a touchdown. Defensively, Eford led Tennessee State with 7 tackles. Hayes 5, Ratliff 5, Jones 4, Judas McKenzie with 4. Tackle for loss, Loving with 1, Jones 1, McKenzie a half a tackle for loss, and Walls a half a tackle for loss. Loving had a sack. Forced fumble was by Hayes. Fumble recovery by Ratliff. Interception by no interception for Bethune-Cookman. Tennessee State, Spreewell led them with nine tackles. Walker with 5, Phillips with 4, Green with 4, Bryant with 4, Lockett with 4, tackles for loss. Patterson 1.5, Nance, Walker, Stewart, Williams, Harper, and Spreewell each had a tackle for loss, along with Green and Bryant. They all had 1 tackle for loss, and Nash had a half a tackle for loss. Sacks, Nance and Walker and Williams each had 1 sack apiece. Half a sack went to Patterson and Nash. Forced fumble, Walker and Watkins had forced fumble recoveries by Boone, Stewart, and Hawkins. Interception went to Green. So, like I said, this was, kind of a game where it looked like Bethune-Cookman had their opportunities. They did not capitalize on many. They had too many mistakes, and they ultimately ended up getting snowed under by the second half surge of 24 points. So, game was pretty cut and dry after that. A big quarter like that, and you can't respond. You ultimately most likely are gonna lose that game. The next game we want to talk about is Alcorn and Mississippi Valley. The Braves picked up a 30-7 victory over Valley. This game was tied for a good bit in the second half. First half, excuse me. Most of the probably like the first, let's say, like 16, 17 minutes of this game. This was a 7-7 game. Jarvion Howard got a 4-yard touchdown for Alcorn early in the first quarter, made the score 7-0. Caleb Johnson would catch a 44-yard pass from Jamari Jones to tie the game up at 7. That score was with 14:46 left in the second quarter. 8 minutes and 40 seconds left in the second quarter. Howard will get his second touchdown on the night from 1 yard out, extra point good, 14-7. And that would be your halftime score. There will be no points at all in the third quarter. Alcorn would get a 30-yard field goal early in the fourth quarter to make the score 17-7. Allen would get a 5-yard touchdown run for Alcorn to make the score of 24-7 at that extra point. And then Tyler Smith, this is something, that's a great football moment in a game that, was out of reach. But if you don't know, Tyler Smith, a couple weeks ago, unfortunately lost his sister and his mom in a fatal car accident. And he was able to score on a 35-yard touchdown on a recovery for Alcorn. And I know that's, football and life and everything is, kind of separate, but, that's a good special moment to see this guy, have some prosperity on the field. It doesn't change or really take a, really, it doesn't make anything happen obviously better, but that was just, something I saw. When I saw that, I was like, man, that's just a great, just a great moment for him to be able to score a touchdown in a game. So as a defensive player, especially. So just wanted to kind of throw a little bit extra on that because, like I said, this was a 24-7 game at that point. But Alcorn would basically wrap this game up. Alcorn 23 first downs, Valley 15, 156 on the ground for Alcorn, 36 carries, 4.3 yards per carry. They did score 4 touchdowns on the ground. 125 yards for Valley on the ground, 38 carries, 3.3 yards per carry, no touchdowns. Passing 299 for Alcorn, 22 at 29, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Valley 151 through the air, 13 of 24, one touchdown, no interceptions. 455 total offense for Alcorn, 65 plays, 7 yards per play. They did fumble twice and lost one. Penalties, 7 for 74 for Alcorn. Valley, 276 total offense, 62 plays, 4.5 yards per play. They did fumble 3 times and lost 2. 5 penalties for 38 yards. Valley still continues to struggle offensively. It's going to take some work to get them out of this hole at their end. 29-yard average punting for Alcorn, 37.2 for Valley. 30 minutes and 8 seconds time of possession for Alcorn, 29.52 for Valley. 7 of 13 for the Braves on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down. They were 4 of 6 in the red zone, and they had 6 sacks on the night, 3 or 4 on extra points, and 1 of 2 on field goals. 6 of 15 for Valley on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down. They did not get, they were 0 for 1 in the red zone as well. They did not get a sack, 1 for 1 on extra points, and they were 0 for 2 on field goals. So just a rough night for Valley. They continue to struggle this season. Emmanuel Dabney, 22 of 29 for Alcorn, 299, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Jamari Jones, 13 of 23, 151, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He was sacked 6 times. Goodwin 0 for 1. Howard, 24 carries, 63 yards, 2 touchdowns. Smith, 35 yards on a carry, 1 touchdown. Duffy, 4 for 28. Dabney, 4 for 23. Caleb Johnson, 17 carries for 64 yards for Valley. Fabian Fant, 3 carries, 25 yards. Jones, 16 carries, 24 yards. Thomas, 2 carries, 12 yards. Rogers, 4 catches, 87 yards, led Alcorn. Bowler, 7 catches, 81 yards. Griffin, 1 catch, 53 yards. Anthony, 3 catches, 31 yards. Tim McNair, 2 catches, 20 yards. Howard, 1 catch, 12 yards. Hunt, 3 catches, 11 yards. And McKelton, 1 catch for 4 yards. Caleb Johnson, 2 catches for 48 yards for Valley and a touchdown. Wagner, 2 catches, 39 yards. Bates, 4 catches, 21 yards. Johnson, 1 for 17. Jean, 1 for 11. Brookins, 1 for 6. Hobson, 1 for 6. And Campbell, 1 for 1. Rice led Alcorn with 6 tackles. Cherilus with 5. Hunt with 4. Bailey with 4. James with 4 tackles for loss. Bailey 2. Rice 1.5. Webb 1. Ballard 1. Smith half a tackle for loss. Sacks Bailey 2. Rice 1.5. Webb 1. Ballard 1. Smith half a sack. Forced fumbles were by Bailey and Webb. Recoveries were by Smith and Bailey. No interceptions. Valley was led defensively by Martin and Ronnie Thomas with 7 tackles apiece. McGee with 5 tackles for loss. Martin, Thomas, Reed, Bell, and Banks each had a tackle for loss apiece. No sacks. Forced fumble credited to the team. Lindsey had a fumble recovery and no interception. So, Alcorn basically took care of business in this game. This game kind of went similar to the way I figured Valley would come out and kind of put up an early fight, but Alcorn would be able to, put this game away. And they were able to do that. And now they set up a big matchup on Saturday against Southern. So that's definitely a game that you're going to keep eyes out on. Valley goes to the Gump to take on Alabama State. So they're going to try to figure out a way to get themselves a victory, but it's going to be tough against an Alabama State defense that's really, really salty. The next game we're going to talk about is Southern taking on Prairie View. This game, obviously, my pick was wrong, but I did think Southern had a chance in this game, but I did not see this game going the way that it did. A lot of emotion in coming into this game. I know everybody kind of downplayed Coach Dooley and some of his staff going back. Jason Dumas, another Prairie View guy, going back. But there was a lot of foolishness before the game, stuff that I don't really condone. It was great that they were able to get past all of that for both teams and play a fairly clean game. Yeah, there was a lot of talking back and forth. There were only like one unsportsmanlike penalty for each team in the game, so all of that was able to be put on the side to play a good game. And the first half was a very, very competitive first half. Both offenses played really good first quarters. They both played high tempo offense. Second quarter, game kind of settled in a bit. Prairie View scored first on a 35-yard field goal from Reyes, 3-0. Then McCray would drive Southern down the field on a 10-yard run, extra point good, 7-3. Jalen Howard would catch an 18-yard pass from Connolly to make the score 10-7. Southern would get a field goal early in the second quarter from 40 yards out to make the score 10-10. And then with 21 seconds left in the first half, Reyes would get a 39-yard field goal to make the score 13-10. And then second half, Southern came out and had a great drive immediately to open up the second half. They got a touchdown from McCray to Pete from 23 yards out to make the score 17-13. Later in the third quarter, those two will hook up again for Southern from 13 yards out to make the score 24-13. Early in the fourth quarter, McCray will get an 8-yard run for Southern, 31-13 after the extra point. Ligon will get a 2-yard run for Southern after the extra point, 38-13. And then Jordan Carter will get a 56-yard pick six for Southern. Extra point good, 45-13, which was the final margin. Second half, Prairie View just really could not move the football. They could not find much going offensively, defensively. Southern was able to start to find some things in their zone defense and really kind of move the ball in chunks on the ground and through the air. And that basically changed the complexion of this game. Southern, 23 first downs, Prairie View 19. 187 yards on the ground for Southern on 36 carries, 5.2 yards per carry. Prairie View, 161 on 35 carries, 4.6 yards per carry. Southern 3 touchdowns on the ground, Prairie View none. 275 total through the air for Southern, 16 of 22, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's a huge thing for Southern because they've been susceptible to interceptions this season, so they did not throw any in this game. Prairie View 16 of 28, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 160 yards, 462 total offense for Southern on 58 plays. They averaged 8 yards a play, no fumbles. So Southern did not turn the ball over in this game, which was huge. 7 penalties for 58 yards for Southern. Prairie View 321 total offense, 63 plays, 5.1 yards per play, 2 fumbles. They didn't lose either one. They both were on bad snaps, bad shotgun snaps. 4 penalties for 40 yards for Prairie View. So in a game where, like I said, there was so much emotion and all of that stuff before this game, the teams combined for 11 penalties for 98 yards. So not a lot of things that happened in this game on the field during the game. So I still want, I really want to say I think both teams and coaching staffs, worked hard to put that foolishness from the beginning of the game behind them and just play football. So, because this game could have really got ugly. Credit to the refs for also keeping this game under control because, we have a situation where teams are fighting before a game. Anything can happen. So I thought that was a good move by everybody involved to keep this game as a football game. So, you don't ever want to have that kind of stuff happen before a game, but it was good that everybody could just kind of play football after that. Southern punted the ball 46.5-yard average on 2 punts, 42-yard average for Prairie View on 5 punts. Southern time of possession, 31 minutes, 22 seconds, Prairie View 28-38. Southern 7 of 11 on third down. They did not attempt a fourth down conversion. They did fake a punt on the converter fourth down. 5 of 5 in the red zone. They had 3 sacks. Southern 6 of 6 on extra points and 1 for 1 on field goals. Prairie View 4 of 13 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth downs. They were 1 of 2 in the red zone. They had 2 sacks and they were 1 for 1 on field goal on extra points and 2 for 2 on field goals. For Southern, Bashawn McCray 16 of 22, 275, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked twice. Connolly, 16 of 28, 160 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times. McCray led Southern with 10 carries for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. League on 11 carries, 43 yards. Rhymes 8 for 30. League on also had a touchdown. Sims 7 for 29. Antoine led Prairie View with 10 carries for 59 yards. Connolly 9 for 46. Stewart 6 for 28. Wisham 6 for 27. And Heron 1 for 7. Dyson led Southern with 5 catches for 96 yards. Pete 3 for 45 and 2 touchdowns. Allen 2 for 42. Sims 2 for 40. Kirkwood 2 for 26. Whitfield 1 for 22. Rhymes 1 for 4. Howard led Prairie View with 2 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown. Collier Ricks 4 for 40. Ty Holden 4 for 32. Stewart 2 for 20. Washington 1 for 17. Heron 1 for 8. Johnson 1 for 2. Southern was led in tackles by Jalen Campbell. Kelby Givens with 7 tackles. Campbell with 10. Givens with 7. Williams. Harris with 7. Williams 6. Lang 5. Tackles for loss. Givens 2. Lang 2. Davis 1. Harris a half a tackle for loss. Brown a half a tackle for loss. Peterson a half a tackle for loss. Monroe a half a tackle for loss. Sacks. Givens and Lang each had 1 sack apiece. Peterson and Monroe had a half a sack apiece. Interception was by Carter. And Prairie View was led by Lewis with 8 tackles. Smith with 7. Evans with 6. Johnson with 6. Turner with 6. Schenkel with 6. Green with 5 tackles for loss. Johnson and Evans each had 1.5 tackles for loss. And Evans and Johnson each had a sack. And like I said, this was just a game where the second half was the turning point in this game. Southern was able to score a couple times in the fourth quarter, and third quarter. Then in the fourth quarter, they were able to put this game away. Prairie View, defensively, they were competitive the whole game. The offense is still not quite consistent, especially with the pass game. Prairie View is the type of team, if they can run it down your throat, they definitely are going to do that. They were put in a position where they had to kind of throw more, and they still kind of ran the ball more than I expected. They will be able to bounce back. They have a bye week this week, so they can kind of regroup and retool. Southern has to get right back on the horse because they have Alcorn coming into the Bluff on Saturday. So no days off for like I said, Southern's schedule is basically SWAC schedule is basically tough for the next 4 games. So no rest for the weary, no time for the Jags to rest on their laurels. They got to get the Braves this week, so it's gonna be a constant grind for Southern if they want to get to where they're trying to go. Prairie View's not out of the race. They still have some very manageable games. They still have a matchup with Alcorn coming later in the season, so that's definitely going to be a game that can be a tough affair for them that they definitely need. The last game that we're going to talk about, which was the game I picked as my game of the week. Everybody did. I like I said on my preview, I picked this game for the memery, the foolery, the fuckery, whatever you want to call it. And it started that way. If you watch some of the videos from the pregame, and it ended that way with a weird half pound and bear hug, half shove between Coach Prime and Coach Robinson. Coach Robinson made some comments after the game about him being SWAC, Coach Prime not being SWAC. I'm not touching none of that because it ultimately doesn't really matter to me. Jackson State won this game because of their defense. Offensively, they played games like this before where they kind of just go. I don't want to say go through the motions because that takes away from Alabama State's defense, who I feel is a very, very sound defense. But Jackson State definitely hurt themselves more often in this game when you look at the numbers, which we will do. but Alabama State was able to keep them off the scoreboard for long stretches. So that defense is a good defense. The offense still is not able to move the ball, but nobody's really been able to move the ball in Jackson State. So I don't necessarily say that they're not consistent because of that. But this is the way Alabama State's been offensively all year. Actually, Alabama State would score first when Johnson would catch a 19-yard pass from Davis. The extra point was no good, made the score 6-0. Willie Gaines would catch a 35-yard pass from Shador Sanders. Extra point good, 7-6. And then Motto would kick a 36-yard field goal right before the half to give Jackson State a 10-6 lead. Kevin Coleman would get a 25-yard pass from Sanders, 17-6 after the extra point. That was with 128 in the third. Salter would get a fumble recovery touchdown. As Alabama State was trying to run the ball in, they fumbled. Salter recovered it for the touchdown. 2-point conversion was no good, 17-12. Martin, 16-yard pass from Sanders. That made the score 23-12. The extra point was no good. And then that was a 30-yard field goal for JSU with 2:38 left in the game to make the score 26-12. Like I said, I thought Bama State, I thought they played pretty well defensively. When your offense can't really move the ball, eventually you're gonna wear down. 27 first downs for JSU, 13 for Alabama State. 109 on the ground for Jackson State, 30 carries, 3.6 yards per carry, no touchdowns. Alabama State, 39 yards on 23 carries, 1.7 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown. 332 through the air for JSU, 30 of 47, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. 16 of 26 for Alabama State, 138 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 441 yards for JSU total offense on 77 plays, 5.7 yards per play. They did fumble once and didn't lose it. They had 9 penalties for 69 yards. Alabama State, 177 total offense on 49 plays, 3.9 yards per play. 1 fumble, they didn't lose it. And they had 5 penalties for 65 yards. 39-yard average on 2 punts for JSU, 43-yard average on 6 punts for Alabama State. Time of possession, 35-02 for the Tigers. 9 of 15 on third down, 0 for 2 on fourth down. They were 3 of 3 in the red zone. They had 2 sacks, 2 of 2 on field goals, and 2 of 2 on extra points. Alabama State, 24 minutes, 58-second time of possession. 4 of 12 on third downs, no fourth down attempts. 2 of 3 in the red zone, and they had 2 sacks. They missed the only extra point and kick, and they missed the only field goal they attempted. Individually, Sanders, 30 of 46, 332, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 sacks. Miles Crawley, 10 of 17, 78 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, no sacks. Davis, 6 of 9 for 60 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He was sacked twice. Wilkerson led JSU with 19 carries for 88 yards. Martin, 2 for 14. Sanders, 8 for 13. Dunn led Alabama State with 6 carries for 26 yards. Howell, 3 for 10. Merritt, 6 for 9. Willie Gaines led JSU with 4 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. Stevens, 3 for 52. Wilkerson, 4 for 48. Hooks, 3 for 42. Coleman, 4 for 39 and a touchdown. Martin, 4 for 36 and a touchdown. Daniels, 3 for 21. Powers, 4 for 17. Buckley, 1 for 9, and Davis, 1 for 3. Johnson led Alabama State with 4 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown. Hickson, 6 for 42. Chenault, 2 for 12. Dunn, 2 for 21. Dunn, 1 for 12. Scott, 2 for 10. And Howell, 1 for 4. Jarente Davis led Jackson State with 7 tackles. Bolden and Miller with 6 apiece. Huggins, 5. Warren, 4. Tackles for loss. Brown, 1.5. Miller, 1.5. Reagan, 1. Davis, 1. Simon Craig, 1. Bolden, 1. Hobson, Huggins, Warren, and Mercier each had a half a tackle for loss. Sacks went to Reagan with 1, and Hobson and Brown each had a half a sack apiece. Gaddy with a forced fumble. Interception was by Sherwood. Alabama State was led in tackles by Bubba Adams with 18 tackles. Bama Bellamy with 10, Moore with 8, Davis with 5, Ogletree with 5, tackles for loss, Maddox with 2, Adams 1, Davis 1, Jordan 1, Moore 1, sacks went to Maddox and Jordan. They each had 1. Interception went to Isaac with 1. So basically, like I said, this game, obviously most people, including myself, if you look at my prediction, I predicted a huge blowout, but Alabama State was very competitive in this game. Offensively, they just could not have any success. And when you can't move the ball against this team and you constantly have to put your defense out there, you put yourself in a tough spot. And you ultimately ended up, kind of wearing your defense down. And Jackson State was able to kind of get out of their own way enough to make enough plays to win this game. So they ultimately would pick up another victory. Alabama State back to the drawing board. Looking at this upcoming schedule for week 7, FAMU is at Grambling. That game is 1 o'clock kickoff on HBCU Go. Valley is at Alabama State, 2 o'clock kickoff. Jackson State is playing Bethune-Cookman in Jacksonville, ESPN Plus. That's a 3 o'clock kickoff Eastern time. Alcorn is at Southern, 6 p.m. kickoff, ESPN Plus as well. And then Sunday, October 16th, Alabama A&M and Pine Bluff. They both play. They play in St. Louis at 3 o'clock. No TV as far as I see now. So right now, let's take a quick glance at the standings before we get out of here. Jackson State is 3-0 in conference, 5-0 overall. FAMU 2-1, 4-2 overall. Alabama A&M 2-1, 2-4 overall. Bethune-Cookman is 1-1, 1-4 overall. Alabama State is 1-2. 3-3 overall. Valley is 0-6 and 0-3 in conference. Alcorn right now leads the West at 2-0. They're 3-2 overall. Prairie View is 3-1 in the West. 3-3 overall. Southern is 2-1. 3-2 overall. Texas Southern is 2-2, 2-4 overall. And Pine Bluff and Grambling are both 0-3. Pine Bluff's 2-4 overall, and Grambling is 1-5 overall. So, excuse me, that's pretty much how the standings go right now. Obviously, a lot of football left and a lot of things that are going to be able to be shaken up as we make our way through the month of October. So that's going to do it for this week's show. We'll be back on Wednesday with our Week 7 preview, and then SWAC Smoke live on Thursday. Week 6 recap, Week 7 preview on SWAC Smoke. Little pre-birthday celebration. Probably have a little fun on that. Not much, but birthday's Friday. So definitely hyped up for this weekend. Southern and Alcorn playing birthday weekend. Gonna have a good time on SWAC Smoke. And then Week 7 recap coming at you on Sunday. After the games, we will probably recap the Alabama A&M Pine Bluff game on Monday. I'll have a little video for you on that game on Monday, since that game is actually on Sunday. So that's going to do it for us today. I hope y'all have a good rest of your weekend and a good start to your week. And we'll catch y'all on Wednesday with our Week 7 preview. And with that, I am out, man. Y'all have a good weekend and holla. Peace.